Hello and welcome. This is Alchemist X. It's been a little while, but at least for Tagatame stuff. But I definitely want to go over the remainder of the month's content as far as the unit releases and banners, etc. Because Mikaboshi and Sumeragi will both be available for the remainder of the month. It's not the most ideal situation banner-wise, but there are a couple of upsides with them, mainly that you would not need to roll for a new Memento necessarily, in that because they just borrow aspects from Kaide's and Mitsuha's Mementos, that saves you the trouble of doing a 9-step. There's also a really excellent Memento for desert units. I'll talk about that a little bit more in the banner overview. So in general, when it comes to Mikaboshi, who's on screen right now, I think she's a very solid fire DPS unit. She does a lot of things at the same time in terms of buffing herself and then having effects on her attacks. She's the kind of unit where if you don't have a lot going on in fire in terms of like anyone, it's just as far as the units that you are able to use in the role of a damage dealer, she can be really, really excellent. If you're already set, like maybe you have like a maxed out Nimble, something like that, she's not going to be as valuable unless you're to the point where you're starting to get to be really, really picky about both the elements and the damage type. So in this case, you're in general, you've got DPSs, maybe like magic, missile, etc., and you don't have slash, then once again, she'll be very, very valuable there. Another thing that I like about her is just the amount of damage she does, the fact she's got a very potent counter attack. It makes her good for both raid content and just general content. She's kind of like a Dios Link in that sense. I don't think she's as extreme as he is, but in general she leans in that direction as far as the kind of unit you can just use all the time, as long as you're willing to go the extra mile for the kind of high price tag for the unit. Definitely not for everyone. That's also how I would describe Sumeragi, because Sumeragi is a basically Mega Ultra Blacksmith. He can buff a bunch of different damage types. He's got some adjacent buffs. He's definitely designed to synchronize well with Mikaboshi, but he can help other types of damage units too. He's also able to buff Magic Mod, which you don't see as often, so it's definitely a noteworthy aspect in his kit. He is the kind of unit where if you don't have a good substitute, like especially if you're thinking in terms of the light element specifically, and it has to be said, Riza is, definitely the most competition for universal light support. If you do not have Riza, you don't think you're going to be getting her soon, I definitely always recommend going after Riza, especially because she's been out long enough that 7-step with a selector, that kind of thing, you could make that happen. But if you don't have that going on, then having somebody like Sumeragi could be really, really good to have. The only thing I'd be wary of is just from seeing how he is in auto, he kind of has a Shahil problem where he just attacks when he should be doing support things like buffing. But for the content where he's going to be the most useful, where like every turn matters and you're trying to stack buffs, maybe you're overclocking him to get his stacking buffs up on a Zahar before his big nuke goes off, you're going to be doing that on manual anyway. So he's the kind of unit that even if the auto is garbage, it doesn't really matter because his highest value is going to be in manual play regardless. So overall, those are my thoughts on the twins. They're definitely good units, but they do have a high price tag, so that is something to be aware of. So next, let's go ahead and jump into the banners. And here we are at the banners. So before I continue, I just wanted to give out a reminder that there is a ton of things rerunning, much like last Golden Week. Pretty much everything that has existed event-wise is currently rerunning, so what I would do is check the coin shop and see what job pluses you haven't got yet and go for that. Most of the content is fairly easy to auto repeat with modern units, so you could very easily, not just for job pluses but for other materials that are going to be useful to you, farm those out. That is what I've been doing. But back to the banners. So both Sumeragi and Mikaboshi have the same banner style. They share a banner with the character whose Memento they also will benefit from, and it's just a 3-step unlimited, so not the most ideal banner style, but definitely better than a 5-step unlimited, because you only need to do 18 steps to guarantee them, rather than doing like 5 whole laps, and if you are really unlucky, you'll at least get coins on every step, so you can load up on shards of them if you don't get an early pull. So it's not my favorite banner style, but it definitely could be worse, and it's especially nice that you don't have to worry about 9-stepping on a memento. So that's the gist of those. Of course, everyone's favorite gem traps are here. So I love this style of banner. As you can see, I went 6 steps in on the unit and 6 steps in on mementos. At the end of this video, I'm going to just do one more step. I like doing the live reaction, see what happens. They're great, but do remember that these do tend to drop before something big. So if you are curious about what's going to come for May, or you're just saving for next OP unit, try not to fall too deep into the gem sink. I think for most people, though, doing a few steps and just see what you get is usually worthwhile. You know, if you want to do maybe like 3k or less, something like that, you can still very easily walk away with some limited stuff, which is always good. The only downside is, of course, you know, discount tickets are not applicable here. So if you're not going for the twins, then the other option is going to be the 9-step for the Desert Memento, which if you use Balt, Carla, Ankh, or Ryle, it's going to be a very good high-value memento. I mentioned this in a community post a while back, but they each individually get buffs that will help them, and especially nice if you're lacking a secondary, especially limited memento for any of the units, because all of them have limited mementos. So if you have them all maxed out, but you don't have a second memento to give them, this could definitely do that job. But again, it is fairly expensive. But I do at least like the regional mementos because they can benefit groups of characters rather than just one. And in the case of this group in particular, I think it's a little bit better than normal. So definitely nice for those interested. Gears, we don't really care that much about gears. That one is the new limited one is good for dancers and stuff, but I think gems are better spent elsewhere. And then of course you could go for the Lil Mementos. They are currently running. If she's a high priority for you, then very, very good banner, as I said last time. And then Crystal Reunion stuff. If you don't care about the twins and you don't care about the Desert Memento, then Crystal Reunion could be an option. If you've already got the units, then the mementos are a fairly good deal. If you don't have the units, then I don't really have good news for you. This was actually how I burned my discount tickets, but I got 0 5-stars, so no real help there, because the only way to get them is pure RNG, and that could end up being way more gems than I honestly think that it's worth, which is unfortunate, because I think Masakado is an excellent support unit. I think Merlinus is still a very solid magic user. Dark Olivier has a kit similar to Zeba. I don't know how she holds up numbers-wise in the modern day, but you do still see her in Arena, which is a good sign. And then Arthur is another one. I never had him in Global either, so I never got a very good sense of how strong he was, but he is a fire DPS unit. But it's really hard for me to endorse any of them with this style of banner, just because it could end up being a giant gem trap. You know, a couple of discount tickets is no big deal, but I wouldn't recommend for anyone to sink a ton of gems into this, especially when you could do the guaranteed 5-star ones and get much, much better haul that way. So yeah, that is about it for the banners. So I'm going to go ahead and do one final step of the guaranteed mementos. We'll see what we get and we'll close the video out. Okay, so yeah, this is the one that I'm going to do. By the way, if anything sounds really odd, I just moved to a new house and I've just got my stuff set up tonight. I don't even have internet set up. The earliest I could get is like a week from now. And so I'm having to do this via like piggybacking files back and forth onto my phone and then uploading it via that way. So this feels like a little bit weird and patched together, but I really wanted to put this out because otherwise I'd miss this reset. That was an important thing to do. I was kind of glad that last week and this week were kind of the same thing, because that saved me a lot of trouble. Otherwise it would have been a very difficult week. Oh, nice. So this was the guaranteed limited. I am probably going to raise Celis soon. I have 2 mementos for her. I have a decent amount of shards. Ooh. Claybell. I do already have that one, but I'll definitely take more limit breaks of it. I barely got any. And Zvi, that is max limit broken. Alright, so far it's been okay. but it's definitely not trending towards new mementos. That's been the case for most of the other steps, except for I finally got the recording of the commandments of truth for Soul, which was very, very good. I'd been waiting for that one. I know it's an ancient memento, but I've really, really been wanting it so I can get that skill use +1. Oh, whoa, we got this one again. I think the game is telling me that I need to raise Celis. But yeah, so now I've got 2 viable mementos for my Soul now. And, I think I just max limit broke this one, like, last week. Okay, so that was a very, very anti-new mementos, but the moral of the story is I will be raising Celis in the near future. So yeah, that's all I've got for this week. So if you are summoning, I wish you good luck, and I will see you all next time.